I went to class that night. And he and I were talking after class. He goes, why are you not in law school? He goes, you're wasting your time here. And I'm like, I can't go to law school. Like, my marriage is falling apart. I have a toddler. Like, where am I going to get the money to go to law school? And like, nobody's going to support me financially. Like, there's no way I can quit working, take care of my son and take care of myself, and not sure what's going to happen with this marriage. It's rough. It's rocky. And he's like, you don't have to like quit working. He's like, you can go to Birmingham School of Law. He goes, clearly your parents are going to help you out because, you know, they're helping you now while you're kind of in this separated but not yet divorced phase of life. He goes, you find a job in a law firm during the day, you go to law school at night. If you have no intention of leaving Alabama, what does it matter? He goes, what does it matter? He goes, find a law firm where you're comfortable and maybe they'll let you stay, you know, after you graduate. And I was like, this is such a great idea, but you're nuts. Like, this cannot happen. I'm not smart enough to do that. And he said, you most definitely are. Why don't you believe in yourself? And so we had this whole like very
this is a professor of yours.
A professor. And he's not much older than I am. You know, he's a lawyer at a big law firm in Birmingham, and he actually had a desire for government service, and he eventually did go work for one of the 3-lettered government agencies doing some intelligence work. So not long after I graduated, after I had this experience with him, but I am a religious person. I know we said we're not going to talk too much about religion, but I prayed all the way home. I really did. I prayed. I said, God, you got to, if this is what you want me to do, you're going to have to like stick up a flashing sign somewhere and say, this is it, you know, or make the path straight for me. Like, help if you mean for me to do this, you've got to make it straight. Yeah. And in my heart, I really felt like I was there to help hurting people. Like, what that meant, though, I didn't really understand. I had a lot of, I didn't have any lawyers in my family, but I had a lot of family with legal experience. Not from the side of a lawyer, though, from the other side, you know, from the side of
exposure to the legal system.
We had a lot of exposure to the legal system. Spent a lot of time in courtrooms as a kid for various and sundry purposes, but more than I wanted. But got to see it, you know, kind of firsthand then too. But nonetheless, I went home that night. I looked up Birmingham School of Law. I looked to see if I was going to need to take the LSAT. It turns out my GPA from my undergraduate was high enough to waive me in without the LSAT. I had an online form to fill out, filled out the online form, submitted it, kept my fingers crossed. You know, I don't know what's going to happen from this point. Immediately started looking for jobs in the legal field. I found 2 pretty quickly. I had to choose between one or the other. One was insurance defense, so representing insurance companies and working as a paralegal in that field, or working in a personal injury law firm. And I thought for sure, like, I'm going to go help hurting people. Those are the people on this side. I don't want to be on this side. I want to be on this side. I want to be on this side. So I took the job at a law firm in Birmingham doing personal injury work, stayed there for about 15 months. And then all of a sudden, one of my friends from law school was in the elevator with me going to class one night. He says, tomorrow you're going to go tell Judge Ferguson what day you can start your new job. I said, I'm not really looking for a new job. My boss by that point was paying for my books and part of my tuition. And, so I was getting a lot of kind of benefits of being in this job. It was very low paying, but he was paying for a lot of things because he really did want me to stay and practice law there at some point, when I graduated. Yeah. But my friend Guy McCombs looked at me, he goes, tomorrow you're going to go talk to Judge Ferguson and tell him when you can start your new job. So at lunch, I put on the suit, like the jacket, and had my resume, and I marched up to the courthouse, and Miss Page, who was our front desk judicial assistant, looked at me. She goes, oh, are you here to see Judge Ferguson about your new job? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, go on back. And so I go back and I introduce myself. Now, interestingly enough, Judge Ferguson had signed my divorce decree. So between the time I start law school and about 15 months in, I get divorced. And I had never met him, didn't know him. It was uncontested by the time we got down to the end of it. So I had no idea who he was. And so I walk in. I said, good morning, Your Honor. I'm Amber Yerke. That was my maiden name. And I'm here about a position. I have my resume. He goes, I don't need your resume. I just need to know when you can start. Your friend Guy has already told me everything I need to know about you. And I said, well, I need to give my current boss 2 weeks. And he goes, is it going to take that long? And I said, I think it would only be fair. He goes, I appreciate that. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, I started working in Judge Ferguson's office. So in Birmingham, the court is divided into chunks. So you have the domestic relations court, where there are 3 judges that hear nothing but divorces and custody modifications, anything arising out of a divorce in one courthouse. You have family court, which is where your protection orders and your juvenile court things happen. You have your criminal courthouse and you have a civil courthouse. So now I am plunged into the life of being a law clerk for a domestic relations attorney. And that's where I finally developed this love of family law because I'm like, wow, these people really do hurt. Like there's nobody that hurts worse than the children in these cases, than the parties in these cases. I saw parties go to jail for failing to follow court orders. I saw children having to come into a courtroom and testify. And I'm like, this is where real pain exists. Yeah. And then in the interim, I meet my husband, I've now been married to for 20 years. And he had a horrible divorce. Mine was, we separated off and on and, but by the time we got down to the end of it, it was uncontested. We all signed an agreement. We filed it. That wasn't the same for him. And I watched the pain and the agony of what he went through fighting to see his kid and fighting to have a relationship with him. And I knew that was it. I would always be a family law attorney. Did not plan to hang my own shingle, though. That was a whole new, experience. But when I got out of law school, I moved to Decatur, which is where he was, my husband was, and found out that a lot of small law firms don't want to just drag in a new baby lawyer. So thankfully, I had a husband with a stable job and stable income, and he gave me the kind of go ahead. He's like, you know what, just do it yourself. You want to do it differently? Do it yourself. I'll be here. I'll support you. Yeah. We'll make this work. You start your practice. And so that's what I did.
That was 18 years ago.
Yeah.
So talk about doing it differently. This is obviously you have a very clear mission of sort of the path that you want to take. What is it about New Beginnings that sort of does it differently when you say that?
Sure. We try to understand that each client doesn't come to us because they have a legal problem. They have a personal problem. They have a problem going on in their lives that has a legal solution to it. Their relationship is falling apart. Their other side's not paying their child support. They're wanting to grow their family, and they haven't been able to conceive a child on their own. They're having a personal problem that has a partially legal solution, but there are parts of what's going to happen to them or what needs to happen for them that has nothing to do with the law. That has to do with therapy and counseling and coaching and just being there for them, somebody holding their hand. And so we take a very team approach to every one of our cases where we tell our clients, we are all here to hold your hand. Like, there's 5 lawyers in this office, and I might be the person who's your direct attorney, but there's 4 other people over here rooting for you every day that that we want to see you have a better life. And I knew the mistakes I had made as a wife. I knew the mistakes my husband had made as a husband, my first husband, myself as a wife that time. And I knew I was going to see that again and again in my clients. Yeah. And I wanted them to have a chance at a better start. Like, when you leave this case, I want you to really have thought through, where did I mess up? Like, they were a horrible person, but what did I allow, or what in me allowed that in my life? How can I make stronger and better decisions for myself going forward? When I got divorced, my lawyer it was my boss at the time, threw my papers on my desk and just said, hey, congratulations, you're divorced. Happy New Year. Hope you have a lot of fun being a single woman this weekend. That wasn't what I needed to hear. I needed somebody to have sat down and here, Amber, here's your divorce papers.
Here's what they mean.
Yeah, here's what they mean. Here's what happens if he doesn't do the things it says he's supposed to do. This is what you do when that happens. How are you feeling? What other resources can I get for you that might be helpful in helping you start over? Yeah. I got divorced in December, and by April I was signing my house over to the bank because I couldn't afford to keep it. And, things happened and things didn't get paid that should have gotten paid. Yeah. And, going back to court when you're in law school and you're already struggling, that really wasn't an option for me. The best option was for me to file for bankruptcy protection and sign my house back over. I mean, that was probably the lowest day of my life when I'm standing there and somebody hands me a thing that goes, sign here and we'll take your house. And I never wanted another woman to go through that. Yeah. All these things, kind of like all these influences I had made me want to start, I didn't start it out as New Beginnings. It just started out as James Family Law Center. Yeah. It took a while to get to the real concept of what it was I was trying to accomplish, which is trying to help these clients have a new beginning.